Earlier on, it was more, the interest was what is Droog and trying to define Droog. And now I think we're not interested in that so much. We're interested in we're looking outwards more, like what's next. Droog started in 1993. It was co-founded by art historian René Ramakers together with the designer Gijs Bakker. And what happened in 1993 is that they started to see many Dutch designers kind of doing work that was different from what was happening in the scenes of Milan and in other international design circles. And this was characterized by found material, putting things together, and not going for necessarily high quality material, top craftsmanship, perfect finished design, but rather found, put together. So good examples, of course, is the chest of drawers. In this, they were kind of redefining what is luxury and what is good design. For example, with 85 lamps, it was putting together 85 lamps, 85 ordinary light bulbs and wires, and bundling them together until you have a luxurious chandelier. So it's redefining what luxury is. Over the years, Droog has continued to work with that theme. The human aspect has always been important from also quite early. Human participation in the actual product, also in the design, was important. Like, for example, with the Do series, early 2000s. So the product isn't finished, like the Do hit chair or the Do frame tape. It's not finished until the user actually works with it as well. And it continued to, it always kind of reacted over the years to what is happening in the mainstream. For example, with Go Slow, it's when fast food is the way to go, or when life in general is becoming faster. Droog says, okay, it's time to slow down, or slow is true luxury. So with the Go Slow Cafe, first presented in Milan, they worked with elderly people who actually would serve the food slowly and carefully. And this was, from one perspective, it's annoying that you're getting slow service and it's not efficient, but of course you realize that that's actually luxury, to be able to slow down for your food. And then it's not just about the service and about the food, but it's about the furniture as well. It's about the lamp. Like in that project, a lamp was designed which was made with fat inside, and it would melt over time. So this lamp would express this quality of time. So Droog always has this kind of approach where you have a theme or a concept, a core concept, and then it translates into service, like who's serving you, what kind of products you're using, the design of the space. So we're never really focused on designing a next lamp or designing something in particular, but we try to start with reactions to society. Well, we also have stores now internationally. We have now a store in Las Vegas. We used to have one in New York, but now all the inventory went to Las Vegas, so we have an office in New York. In the platform Design for Download, it's going to be international. So that's also because of the technology, and because it is a platform, it's by definition, information is by definition almost international. Earlier on, it was more, the interest was what is Droog and trying to define Droog. And now I think we're not interested in that so much. We're interested in we're looking outwards more, like what's next. And I would say in all situations, it's always a reaction to what's happening right now. So with Go Slow, it's that looking at when something goes slow, or for example, the bottom-up doorbell. It was to show the mechanics, but also to express something. Doorbells usually are minimal. You don't see them. You don't see any parts. And here, we had found material glasses, and they also serve functionally, but they also communicate a toast to your guests. So we don't have a list, that's for sure, of criteria. Yeah, there's definitely a Canadian design scene. I used to be actively part of it up until 2005. And I also participated never in the shows in Toronto, but shows internationally from Toronto. I don't see major significant differences, except that it's more active here, probably. It's just, for example, Design Academy Eindhoven, the level of professionalism in their presentations has been key to their success. So I just went to the Ryerson University year-end show just last week, actually. And I go to the year-end shows or the graduation shows here as well. And you do see some things that some schools here are able to do, which, well, in the case of Design Academy Eindhoven, that is about having a strong concept that is professionally presented and without any extras. You know, what I noticed at Ryerson University is that there seems to be a little bit of insecurity about communication, and there's too much that's being presented. There's a lot of text that explains every aspect of the thinking process. All those decisions were very important for the student and for the professors. But when it's an actual show, you should really edit it down to the key idea. And I think Design Academy Eindhoven has been very, also with Edelcourt, she's done an excellent job with that. With curating, not just that each project is easy to understand, but also collectively what kind of a message it brings. It's highly curated. Some of the other schools, yeah, you don't see that. I think that clarity as much as you do at Design Academy. That's what I would personally say. What I personally noticed. Well, we certainly keep abreast of what's happening out there, not only in the non-design, both in the design and the non-design world. So we do, the way we do that is we have subscriptions to a lot of magazines, and certain people are constantly flipping through them and tagging and referencing certain things for particular themes that we're working on or particular projects. We don't follow trend forecasting reports and try to change our collection to suit that, but we do read trend forecasting because it relates to the kind of thinking we're doing. So of course we're informed of what some of the other trend forecasters are saying or thinking about because it relates to our work, and we might agree or we might disagree. We might have a reaction. But for example, the Future Laboratory, the Viewpoint magazine, we have quite a bit of respect for them and the way they do their work. Well, you see several different kinds of trends going on right now. Some is you have the design and art, the rise of the limited edition, which has been happening. Now that's sort of ending, but that was very big in the Netherlands, and that's still there for sure. Then you have the open design, which is kind of almost the opposite or very different approach, where you try to minimize the identity of the designer or claim that it's not so important, the individual designer name. You have a rise in concern for sustainability and general consciousness. And Droog is active in multiple, we do studio work as well. So we do open design, we also have studio work, so we also have limited edition pieces. The way we try to approach limited edition is that usually it's limited by definition, for good reason, not because it's not artificial scarcity. It's not just saying, okay, we will make 3 when in fact we could make way more. It's usually because it's either made directly by the designer studio, so then they're not a production house, right? So they're only going to do several pieces. Or the project Saved by Droog, we purchased goods from bankrupt companies, and we purchased all the goods, and then we had them redesigned. And then we sold them as limited edition pieces because we didn't have any more, and then you couldn't get more. So another example is the red blue Lego chair. That one, we actually, when that one was produced, we wanted it to be available in a greater quantity, maybe even for people to be able to make it themselves if that was possible. But it's actually the copyright infringement that prevented us from being able to do that. So that's why it's limited.